On this episode of ResiWeek, we talk controlling fans, Nortek rebrands as nice, and freedom from the field. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek, episode 316, Our Own Worst Enemy.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by FSR.
Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matty Scott for AVNation.tv. This week, I'm pleased to be joined by two of my good friends. First, it's Catherine Wheeler. She is an area sales manager for Snap One, previously known as Snap AV. How you doing, Kat?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Thank you for being here. Next, but certainly not least, is my good friend, Mr. Henry Clifford. He is the president of Livewire and the co-founder of Parasol. How you doing, Henry?
What's going on, Matt? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. All right, we are going to kick this off with a story that comes to us from CE Pro. Smart ceiling fans are the forgotten light fixtures of the ceiling. There are 12 million plus ceiling fans sold annually in the U.S., and these seem to be the next big thing for automation. Kat, I want to start with you on this one because I agree and dramatically disagree with this assessment. And let me tell you why. Ceiling fans are great. Good quality controllable ceiling fans are egregiously expensive. Ceiling fans that most people want to buy are cheap and the control sucks. So, Kat Wheeler, does our acceptance of ceiling fans and our desire to control them, does this completely and unequivocally revolve around the quality of the API that these fan manufacturers are going to give us?
I mean, yes, but I'm here for it, and let me tell you why. I think when we talk to integrators about ways to grow their business, there's ways you can do that, and there aren't very many ways to do it without a huge investment of infrastructure, like getting new trucks and hiring new people, which costs a ton of money. But one way to dramatically grow your business quickly is by selling things that you didn't sell before. And if fixtures are one of those things, I'm here for that. If outdoor lighting and audio is part of that, I'm here for that too. I think we need to explore all of the options available to us to be as profitable and as valuable to our customers as we can be. And then the second part of that is I'm big on integration. And the more things you integrate and integrate in a good, smart way, the better a system you give people. When I can wake up in the morning and my lights and shades and thermostats all do the same thing with one button, if my fan did that too and was integrated into that, not controlling it individually, that's huge. It makes everybody's lives, their quality of life better, and our value to our customers better. So I'm here for it.
Henry, I don't disagree with her. My concern is that, at least in my experience, the ceiling fixtures that are sold as controllable are controllable via another app. And that's really it. They don't really give you control. And if you put that controllable, quote unquote, fixture on a controllable circuit, which is the proper way to do it, you quite often run into problems where the fixture just doesn't want to respond properly because it can't connect to its app, blah, 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 blah. Do we need to interject ourselves completely and force a spec based on this until these manufacturers come up with, something that's Z-Wave control, and literally anything that's built in to an actual automation platform that we already use? I can think of maybe one brand of ceiling fans that actually has true integration, and that's it. And they're quite expensive. They're beautiful, but they're quite expensive. Am I missing it on this?
I saw Jason wrote this, and I love what he was trying to put out there as far as a message of pushing the envelope and exploring new spaces. I think, as I think about it, looking through the lens of an integrator, I think about margin, I think about services, I think about if I have a hand in putting this ceiling fan in, what are the good things that are going to happen as a result of that? And then I think, what are the bad things that are going to happen as a result of that? The good list is pretty short. It's real short. I'm not thinking I'm making much margin. I'm not really thinking there's a lot of control opportunity. And I'm thinking about my own behavior with the fan. It's usually I'm getting maybe encouraged by another member of my household to do something with the fan that involves a little pull chain or something. So I'm not saying that the fans don't have their place. I can think for outdoor, for some of the cool outdoor lanai spaces, and some of these that need true automation, kind of on off, that need the color temperature integration, etc. I could think of that much the same way, like Kat said, with outdoor lighting. If it's tied in with some of that outdoor infrastructure coming on, turning off, like around a pool and things like that. But for the most part, I'm not really seeing a play other than it, potentially some headaches, and probably feels like potentially one of the buckets where, as we get more into fixtures as integrators and we're engaged in resale to electrical folks, much the same way we'll do with lighting control or we'll do with fixtures, that feels like the place to sort of invest our energy. Is like, hey, Mr. Electrician, I got something how to make your life easier. Therefore, we're out of the warranty kind of. We're the trusted advisor to the Mr. Sparky, essentially. So, but I would, for us, we're going to keep the fans at arm's length.
Now, I'm surprised. I'm intrigued you said that. Not really surprised. I'm intrigued. And the reason I say this is because my company actually sells ceiling fans, and we do okay with them. But the reason we sell them is kind of to Kat's point, is that we can control what's going in. So we did a huge project years ago, a huge Lutron project, and we had spec'd fans, but we hadn't firmly spec'd them. We just said, yeah, we're going to use these ones. And the homeowner happened to be in a lighting showroom and saw some cool fans and was talked into this wonderful fan with a DC motor that you cannot control speed on with any sort of lighting control. And it was a massive headache, and it was a big pain in the butt, and it took so much work to make function seamlessly. So we started firmly speccing fans that we can control properly. And now that we control them properly, they're great. But yeah, when you show up and I'm price quoting against the special Lowe's had on a Hunter brand ceiling fan, nothing against Hunter, but yeah, no, I'm out of that.
That's
game.
more like what I was talking about.
Yeah, I'm
not
out of that
the
game.
Super special, all the specifiers in the room projects. More of the Biddy McBitterson jobs. Yeah.
No, run away.
Yeah.
Unless it's cool and you can find a way to do it, then do it. Go make money. It's important. All right, let's change topics for a moment. This comes to us from Residential Systems. NICE consolidates their North American organization and phases out the Nortek branding. Arguably slightly an addition, if not a bigger part of this story, is that they are fleshing out their U.S. team, including our friend Paul Williams and Lisa Potok are joining that leadership team, as well as, they're expanding a bunch of other people. Paul is joining as Chief Product Officer, and Potok is joining as their Chief Financial Officer. Henry, let me start with you on this one. Is there a major upside or downside to the rebranding of Nortek as NICE? Does it matter?
I mean, the word "nice" is
nice.
Is nice.
We are both dads, if you're wondering, hence why we both found that joke very funny.
So, but at the end of the day, one of my buddies, I asked him, he had a bunch of offices all over the country. I said, how do you do this? How do you sort of be the company that is needed in Tallahassee and Nashville, etc.? And he's, man, we're local as hell everywhere we are. So I think if NICE can figure out how to be local as hell for CI, I think that the asset is they're this huge, large organization, right? That's the asset. The liability is they're this huge multinational organization. So I think having the messaging having the avatar, like having like a Frank, as their avatar, having somebody who's kind of a channel person, and making it more meaningful. Like I think of 2GIG, for example, right, which is now a part of this large umbrella. I think, yeah.
Yep.
So
yes, and keep in mind they're not rebranding all of those sub brands.
Yeah,
right?
but I guess my point is like the endearing startup cool story of like a 2GIG, right? And then they get bought up by a bigger company, and then a bigger, eventually, and it's nice, fine, but the character of that, the danger, Will Robinson, part of that is that can get lost without good person-to-person communication. So I think that's the danger. As I see these brands get rolled out, and there's these brands now that are just completely orphaned out and widowed out because they lost the spark that used to sort of be the cool story before they were absorbed. So that's where I think NICE maybe has an opportunity.
All right, Kat, when you see this, what does it mean? Because NICE has been around for a while, but they have not had a North American presence to the extent that Nortek has. Right, Nortek has a fairly well-known brand name. I'm not going to speculate on how many people love the Nortek brand versus hate the Nortek brand. I don't think that necessarily matters. But when a non-U.S. entity comes in and buys up a bunch of brands in North America, what does it mean to have someone like Paul Williams, who's been at Control4, been at Savant, knows a boatload of people? He's a friend of the show. What does it mean for NICE to have people like Paul on the grounds as chief product officer to, I don't know, maybe calm some concerns of that change?
Yeah, I mean, I think to Henry's point, the people in any company are the most important part of the company. It's the people that deal with the customers and that manage the products and steer the direction of that ship. That's the most important part. But I also think, it's an exciting thing, because if we look at our industry and the ways that we've grown over the last 10, 15, 20 years, over the last 5 years, we've seen such an investment from so many people into our industry and our economy and growing everything. I think it's exciting. So, when companies do that, again, the brand names aren't changing. So the end user facing portion of that kind of thing isn't any different. So I'm excited. I'm here for it. I'm here for everything this week. I'm in a good mood this week.
Well, that makes one of us. Two. Henry's always in a good mood, so at least two of us.
I'm loving life.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, as long as the people treat their customers the same, it's,
Oh, it's fantastic.
It's not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing. All right. And congratulations to Paul. We're super psyched for him. All right, let's wrap this up with a story that comes to us as well from Residential Systems and Henry Clifford. Yeah. I typically try not to have the people who write the stinking articles on the show at the same time, because then if I have an issue with it, I can't bring it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I don't have an issue with this at all. If you haven't followed Henry and his writing, do it. He writes some phenomenal stuff, and this is no exception. It is about getting out of the field and into the pasture, talking about the abundance of remote work opportunities for techs who are looking to move on from the field, because we have all heard this. Heck, I have said this. Henry, I'm sure you've said this. Kat, I'm assuming you've said this once or twice about wanting to get out of the field. I feel like I say that every day. I'm in the field trying to fix a fan that won't talk to the proper controller. See how I brought it around? All right. Go to Residential Systems, read the article. It is very good. Kat, when you read through this, when you look through this, how do we continue to push the industry to a point to where we can support a larger number of workforce people who are not necessarily in the field? Because, as a trade type industry, the majority of our people are in the field. How do we continue to grow that umbrella so that your average tech who's in the field can see, more than one or two viable paths out of the field?
I mean, I think it's a great question. I think what we've seen in our industry over the last, 5 years with the emergence of remote management becoming such a staple in every job that goes out in our industry has not only changed the way that our installers work and do their business, but also the level of support we're able to give to the end user. It has surpassed my wildest expectations of what it could be, and what we're doing is so much better than anything we've ever done before. And with that has expanded the opportunities available to techs. What they can do remotely is greater than what they could do before, and there are more opportunities because of that. And I only think that's going to grow, more and more over time as it's already a standard practice, but as it develops more. So I think it's a good thing. And I think the way we move people where they want to be is, mentoring and supporting employees and listening and talking to them and seeing what their goals are and their aspirations and training them to do that. And that level of training and support is available from, many companies in our industry. So I think the opportunities are there, and I only think they're going to grow with time. But big fan of what we're able to do now remotely. And I think, again, it's only going to grow.
Henry, obviously you've read the article, I think. Unless you're one of those people who never read what you write. Or never listen to shows you do. What is the industry, how much does the industry have to continue to grow? Because I look at the larger integration firms in the business, and they can totally do as your company did and bring on a remote service tech in-house, right? To expand what you're doing through Parasol as both a owner and a user of it, I guess, as your company, right? You're handling initial things with Parasol, and then it comes to your employee on in-house, and he solves, again, 27 out of 30 calls per se. But for the average integrator who might have 2 or 3 techs in the field, they're not big enough to support that. So how do we continue to grow that aspect of the business? Does it mean that we have to have more bigger integration firms? Or does it mean that we just have to find a better way to continue to expand our local shops?
Yeah, I think there's this continuum of sort of renting on one side and owning on the other, where, we all start somewhere, right? I started driving a Dodge Neon out to a job site. So, I couldn't have afforded a remote support technician at that point. But they didn't have service programs around like OneVision or Parasol. So now, in 2022, an integrator can rent that capability. They can go to a remote managed service provider like a OneVision or a Parasol and completely transfer that risk over to an outfit that is paid through subscription revenue, generate recurring monthly revenue for themselves. And then as you grow, you can then convert that. So now we have both, right? We have a dedicated, like I highlighted our main awesome guy, Dustin, in the article, who is kind of a local Parasol person, but he's only dealing with stuff that Parasol couldn't sort out, the 30% that they couldn't handle. But at the end of the day, it's about preventing attrition. So if you have these folks in our industry who get injured, like we just had a guy with an eye injury, couldn't work in the field, worked remote for us. Parasol hired him. He's got an eye injury. Well, he could still see the screen and he could still click a mouse and do what he loves to do. But normally that guy would have gone to work somewhere else, just been he probably would have exited the industry. So for us, if we can keep this knowledge base in our industry, these years of wisdom, and just retain that longer, I don't think it's necessarily about growing as much as it is refining what we've got, and that makes our support capability just that much better. Instead of losing the wisdom, losing these really talented people, it's holding on to them.
Do we have to redesign kind of our go-to-market strategy over remote and try and find a way, not try to find ways, but build better opportunities to enhance and expand the remote support we're offering, right? To continue to build that position.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's just it's up to us. Like we're our own worst enemy. I think there's a lot of hesitance, especially in that moment of being in a big sale opportunity with the customer, and the client says something like, "Well, this is going to work perfectly, right? I mean, I'm never going to need any service." And I think up until very recently, the temptation, because maybe you're in a bid situation, you got fear of loss, or maybe it's not you, it's one of your salespeople. Mm-hmm. Their fear of loss aversion gets triggered, and they say like, "Oh no, yeah, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be perfect," and versus that's the moment in time to say, no, it's gonna break. What? Yeah, unless you live on a different planet where tech doesn't break, but yeah, it's gonna break. The question is, what do you want to have happen when it breaks? And I think we miss out on those opportunities as an industry right now. Less and less, by the way. 5 years ago, that was very much the deal. We just didn't want to talk about service. We didn't want to talk about the total cost of ownership. But now I see more and more folks doing that and using it as a means of differentiating themselves from their competition. We get tons of calls at Parasol now from folks who see that the guy across town is now offering this. Mm-hmm. And it's making them angry, and so they whatever it I mean, we don't really, it was just about raising the tide and lifting the ships. We've always said, do it yourself, sign up with One Vision, sign up with Parasol, just do something, right? Like, let's just move it all forward.
Kat, is there a easy way to go about talking to your customers about how your system's going to break?
Yeah.
Just like that?
Yes, just like that. And just like Henry said, I think, and my customers are obviously different because they're integrators, but talking to the end user should be the same thing. You should be upfront and honest. And as people's experience with technology has evolved over the years, people are more familiar with technology than I think we give them credit for. Everyone understands the pain of syncing devices and how things fall offline. And, these things do happen. And being upfront and managing your customers' expectations is the most important thing an integrator can do. Talking to them about what it really does, and maybe the things that it does do aren't the most practical things for it to do. And just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. All of those things are sales conversations you should have upfront with a customer. But also, remote management and being able to service and support 90% of those issues without having to roll a truck and go on site and interrupt that customer's daily life is such a huge step forward for us as an industry. And so, I love Henry's point about you can rent and you can own. So you can do it in-house. Yes, it is an expense, but you can also hire a One Vision or a Parasol to help you get to that next level and offer a level of support to your customers that you've never been able to do before. And being able to sell that while you're managing their expectations about what technology is and does, yes, things are going to break. Everything breaks. But how you can fix it and resolve those issues is the salient point. Because if you can resolve those issues without somebody having to stay home from work and let you in the house and all of the things that happen, if you're able to just log in and do something and fix it, who cares if it breaks? It's fixed.
I love it. All right, let's wrap it up there. Thank you both for joining us. Henry, if people want to connect with you, learn more about Livewire or Parasol, where can they do that?
Sure, Matt. Online, getlivewire.com, getparasol.com, and thanks again for having me today.
Always, my friend. Kat, if people want to connect with you, learn more about Snap One, where can they do that?
At snap1 or snapav.com, or catherine.wheeler@snap1.com, or my personal website, which is catwheeler.com, or cat@catwheeler.com.
Yeah, go check out catwheeler.com. She's an author. I just got her book on Amazon. You should get it too. Look at that little plug. All right, thank you again for joining us. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Twitter @Matt D. Scott and pretty much every other social platform. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.